We mentioned Alexa a few times. I think a lot of Alexa will be triggered. It will be listening to the podcast now.
Yes, I mean, it's very clear that Amazon is pulling, some information from off Amazon.
And is there any direct data? All these are from third party, right? Is there any direct numbers from Amazon directly?
Yeah, Amazon is a little cagey just on the specific data that they've been sharing.
So what kind of budget have you seen for the accounts that you manage currently?
So you kind of have to view it from a category level to get the whole view of what is happening.
Ecom Squeezed podcast.
Welcome back to Ecom Squeezed. I'm your host, Sebastian, founder of Retail-Outsource. Joining us today is Christian Rich, founding US sales at Azoma. Christian have more than 10 years of experience in sales, e-commerce, technology, and business consulting. And he worked with a lot of larger brands managing Amazon and Walmart advertising. And today he works on the AI side. So welcome to the show, Christian.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I was excited. You reached out a couple weeks back, and yeah, this should be fun.
Yeah, Mitch, the main reason was you're popping up on LinkedIn all the time with the AI stuff, So I couldn't stop thinking, am I missing something? That's why I want to get you in.
I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing to be popping up on LinkedIn a lot, but here we are anyways. So yeah.
So, I want to start with how you end up on the AI side, like, specifically for Amazon, like Rufus. Rufus is not anymore, but.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I'm having to even like keep Rufus in the way that I'm talking about it, because I feel like a lot of people in our world now know that it's Alexa, but who knows? If you haven't been on LinkedIn in a week, which some people don't log on to LinkedIn, but a couple times a year, so I'll probably keep saying Rufus at least for a few more months. But yeah, Alexa is I guess what we can call it now. Alexa for shopping, but I'm just going to say Alexa. So
great. And what things have changed recently in terms of on your website? When I check, you mentioned is one of the main thing I noticed was your listing need to be recognized or recommended by AI. That's kind of one thing that's taken my mind.
Yeah.
Could you give us some context, what exactly is that? And then I will ask the rest of the questions.
Yeah, I think maybe even from a non-Amazon view, just there's different LLMs that are analyzing really anything on the web right now. Like with ChatGPT, it could be Reddit, it could be your D2C site, it could be a blog somewhere. So each LLM kind of has its own way. Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Walmart with Sparky, and then obviously, with what Amazon's doing with Alexa / Rufus. Each one has a different method for choosing the brand that it recommends when you're shopping for something. I actually think that Amazon's is a little bit more direct in terms of the line of where it's pulling from, because Amazon's largely walled itself off from, ChatGPT, Gemini of the world, although that could be changing here soon. There's some signals that might be changing with that. But yeah, the way that people get discovered, on each of these is different from LLM to LLM.
Great. And in terms of, you recently posted a LinkedIn post with a screenshot of water flows, brand getting recommended by Rufus. And so is that addressing a pain point, studying the pain point, then including that on the listing? Do you have a framework?
Yeah, I mean, I think the target's always moving, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think, like, to keep it very, very simple, your product page is probably part, call it 50% product page and then 50% what people have purchased in the past. Now, obviously with Alexa coming in to take over Rufus, that becomes even more personalized to, what people use Alexa for in their home, like some of the personalization history there. You hope that there's some privacy things that we can kind of keep intact there. If Alexa's in my home, hopefully it's not, using Rufus to do too much in that area, but I'm sure that's going to be part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's like, your purchase history, and then also just very practically, like what you're asking in the prompts are going to be determined by, does your product page answer those questions? Rufus is largely people, don't kind of get the sense that people are going into Rufus like they do with ChatGPT and just are kind of chatting away with it. Rufus does a really good job of surfacing what it thinks that you're probably going to be asking, and that's how people are mostly interacting with it. So with that, I think that if you can answer those questions the right way on your product page, you have a really good shot of, surfacing when Rufus does give a recommendation finally in that experience.
Great. We mentioned Alexa a few times. I think a lot of Alexa will be triggered. It will be listening to the podcast now.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, it's like over in my room over there. We'll see if it, if it knows that we're talking to it. So yeah, if we mention it in the call and like I hear something from above, hi Alexa. So yeah.
Great. And I want to touch base on Rufus having category knowledge.
Yeah.
So does it just look within the Amazon's ecosystem, or will it go and search outside of Amazon and gather those information? And for a seller,
that's a great question. I mean, I think like it's a little hard to say just like on a macro level, like what percentage is it using Amazon versus non-Amazon. There are different areas of it that certainly have told us like, hey, it's going off Amazon to get information. So like you kind of referenced this, but at least on the app experience now, when you search for a certain product, it may give category information about that product. So I posted on LinkedIn the other day, I think it was like a water flosser that I was searching for in the example. And, it basically gave a product description of like what is a water flosser. And with that, it had different sources that it pulled from for that. Yes, I mean, it's very clear that Amazon is pulling, some information from off Amazon. How much is it pulling off Amazon? I don't really know. I think one of the things that we try to do at Azoma is for any of these LLMs, but even Amazon, is say, if there's anything that's being cited externally from Amazon, we want to give you an understanding into what that is. That could be like, for supplements, like maybe it's using Men's Health or something like that, whatever it may be to pull info from. Yeah.
Great. And if you post something anywhere on social media about AI, on the Amazon, there will be always someone commenting, let's stick with the old school keyword research,
Yeah.
Nobody's using Rufus and stuff like that. So what will be your reply to them?
Well, this has changed. I would probably have agreed with them in the last month ago in some respects. I used to be at a company called PackView, which is still doing really great things in the ad tech retail media space. And I actually don't think that retail media is going away with some of this AI stuff. Even in the last, I just posted about this like right before I came on the show here, there's actually sponsored products that are surfacing now in Alexa. So not only are keywords becoming a little bit less relevant, when I search for anything in Amazon now, blue bubbles immediately start to pop up in the search bar, disrupting that experience to where it's like, hey, need help deciding this is what it says now. And it's like, oh, that my eye goes to that like really easily. Like that's a nice blue bubble. Like I'll click on that. And then the questions that it keeps surfacing just drive me more and more towards conversion, just practically speaking, how much better of an experience is that than, just kind of blindly searching for keywords and going through a bunch of different ads. Like it's a much smoother experience. And honestly, like the sponsored ad that I saw like the other day when I was shopping in Alexa is pretty slick. I mean, I almost didn't know it was a I had to like check like, wait, is this a sponsored? So, I think it's a pretty great experience overall.
I want to ask a lot of questions on the ad side also.
Yeah.
That's on my list. So in terms of demographic, is that just the younger generation who are using Rufus or AI, or do you have any kind of breakdown?
Yeah, so I want to get the name of this right in terms of the people that I know that Max from my team did a podcast the other week with this group. I think they're called, can I actually look this up? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I make sure that I say the name of this company right. So Generate. So I was going to throw that out there. I just wanted to make sure it's kind of a unique name. So Generate they did a study. There's been a couple of different studies. Like I'm friends with Ian Simpson at Sensor Tower. They've done some really good like usage stats on Rufus from Q1. Generate did a really similar report. I think a lot of it was like UK based, actually. They did some US stats too, but I thought their report was interesting because it was UK based. But Generate, on the demographic side, last week was talking to our founder, Max, about this on a podcast. And they were saying that actually it is the kind of like boomer generation. So like the like not young people are using this. So people are actually more leaned into this if you're older, which actually kind of tracks. I'm in my mid 30s. I don't really use Rufus that much. Like I use ChatGPT, Gemini a good bit just with any product discovery that I'm doing. Younger generations, so like Gen Z, is not using Rufus nearly to the same extent as the older generation is, which I actually find really interesting.
Yeah, that's true. And is there any direct data? All these are from third party, right? Is there any direct numbers from Amazon directly?
Yeah, Amazon is a little cagey just on the specific data that they've been sharing, besides, their CEO coming out and saying that people are using it a lot. I think we all saw like the Q1, the stat coming out of Q4 into Q1. I think it was their Q1 earnings report. May have been even the Q4 that they said that, I think like over 300 million people used Rufus. So, I mean, they give kind of those blanket stats like that, but we have to rely on, the Sensor Towers of the world to get a little bit more detailed on, okay, well, how are people converting? How many people are using it per set? Like there's all sorts of like minute details that we all care about that, other people have to go do the math on it for us because Amazon's being a little, coy about it. So,
always.
Yeah.
Amazon is Amazon.
Yeah, totally.
And you mentioned about the sponsored product showing up on the Rufus results, right?
Yeah.
So could you just tell me exactly, how it shows and what prompt you used? And for a seller, how can they come on that? Is that automatic campaign or is that any special?
That, the LinkedIn post that I did this morning, like right before I came on here, was basically asking, can somebody tell me how this is happening? Because I don't know. I think like a few questions that I have immediately on that, the questions that come to mind are, okay, how did this get there? Like because with a sponsored product, sponsored brand, like it's like, okay, we have a really neat, organized way to bid on these kind of things. Like I'm going to go for top of search. Like if I'm using a pack view, like I'm going to have all my different tactics and automations that are going to get me to the top or to hold a certain placement or to surface a sponsored brand. Like for this, it's like they don't, at least to my knowledge, no brand that I've talked to has access to bid on prompts besides sponsored prompts. But this isn't a sponsored prompt. It was just a normal need help deciding bubble. So if I click on that ad, which I didn't, Quest, I click on it. Although maybe they could tell me what the cost per click was if I did click on it. Like, what's the cost per click on that? Are any of these ad tech providers like PackView or Sky or whoever, will they have API access to it? I just have a lot of questions. So I don't know. I think it's really cool, but if the cost per click on that is like triple what a sponsored brand is, that probably wouldn't be super cool for that.
Yeah, that's
so I don't know.
Yeah, it will be interesting a few months ahead. All this will be revealed and people start going for it. It will be quite interesting.
Yeah.
And on your previous company, Packow, you helped a lot of big brands, right? 8-figure brands and media budgets and giving a lot of examples of, managing the PPC. And this question I normally ask all the people or expert who touched PPC. So could you give us an example on the ideal structure of a 8-figure brand?
Man, I would say that would depend on the category, like who they're competing with. I mean, I think that the bigger, here's maybe a twist on that.
Okay.
And this applies to AI too, by the way. I think the bigger the brand, the more, which this is going to sound obvious to some people, like people that are listening to this are maybe going to eye roll and be like, this is the most obvious thing in the world. But the bigger the brand, like the slower they are. It's like a big cruise ship, right? Like if you're on a huge boat, if you're trying to like turn around or change course in that, like it's much harder to do that than if you're on like a smaller speedboat, you know? So I think like with all of this stuff, whether it's AI, you know, Amazon DSP, like new things that Amazon's or AMC, being able to like run test and learns with, you know, your AMC data, brands that have teams that are smaller and can work together, and actually knows what what each other are doing. For some of these Amazon people, like their DSP team, it like is totally segmented from their on-site team. And their Amazon team is totally segmented from their Walmart and Target team. So if you're listening to this and you're a brand that's like, oh, well, there's only 3 of us, we all work together. The tools that are out there can kind of like give you the same horsepower as a $1 billion brand can. You just can talk to each other quicker to be able to make the decisions. So I think in terms of structure, I think it's more org structure focused. It's like, how can you make your organization work together quicker? If you can do that, there's a lot of tools that can help you scale and get results really quickly. It's just the guys that are so big where it's like, oh yeah, we're going to take 3 months to figure out how we change course on something or have a new strategic vision. It's like, you don't have time to do that. Alexa just changed it in the last 2 weeks, you know? So there's a lot happening right now. So the more agile you can be as a brand, the better.
Great, Christian. And you talked about Amazon Dynamic TV creatives on DSP, you know, the ability to target a different ad based on, you know, someone where that person is on the funnel. So give me, can you give us an example on how will you apply that in real world?
Yeah, I think that I got really excited about that because I've been watching the NBA playoffs here in the US for the first time on Prime.
Yeah.
And it's such a different advertising experience than watching it on ESPN on my kind of like Xfinity TV. I'm sure that'll become more interactive as time goes on too, but you know, being able now as a brand to, while I'm watching the NBA playoffs, to target, okay, we know that Christian has looked at this product before on the internet. Let's give him the ability to add to cart. Like with this ad, let's surface a different kind of like description with this ad. Or maybe Christian's never seen this product before. So like when we're surfacing this ad to him, we're going to make it to where he can just like click a link and check it out on his phone before adding the cart. It's a less assumptive close for Amazon. So just being able to personalize those kinds of experiences dynamically based on the person, at least with the way that I understood it, is crazy. Like to have that amount of personalization to where it's like somebody's watching the NBA playoffs and they know my product history, they know what I've been searching, and they can surface a very specific kind of experience to me. And that's like the advertiser's dream, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I think it's
to target handpick.
Yeah. And now the great thing with that is now, like, if I do end up back, maybe I don't buy it. I'm probably not going to buy anything while I'm watching the NBA playoffs. Like, who knows? But if I do go back to Amazon, yeah, I like that thing that I saw the other day. Now Alexa is there to really curate those last questions that I might have, you know, to where it's like, oh yeah, I wonder if it does this. Alexa's right there, probably thinking that I'm about to ask that question.
Yeah.
And as a brand, you know, you better make sure if you spent those very expensive advertising dollars during the NBA playoffs to get to me, you might want to make sure that you're answering the questions that somebody might have the right way once they do land on that site. And that's part of what we do, is help people understand, like, what are the top questions that people are asking in your category? Because if you're not answering them the right way, it's gonna show another product that does, you know. So
that's very true, Christian. And you mentioned about the budget as well, right? So let's assume that a brand is having, spending around $10K at $1,000 per month.
Yeah.
And from that budget, let's say they want to allocate some on the AI optimization or maybe the sponsor ad. So what kind of budget have you seen, for the account that you manage currently? What's the split between the allocation?
Yeah, I think brands have very different ideas of what they should spend on the AI side. I'm not going to give away kind of like our pricing card on this call, but I do think I would say this, that ChatGPT, Gemini, like those sorts of places, I think that this will change will change some, if somebody watches this 6 months from now, like this will change. It's May 5th, 2026. But as of today, those are very upper funnel experiences. So like ChatGPT, not many people, I don't think, are using, the buy feature within ChatGPT or however you navigate that. Same thing with Gemini. Maybe it's a little bit easier because people are used to purchasing through Google. I know that UCP is going to change a lot of that, like the way that people are able to buy through Gemini. But today, Amazon makes it really easy to convert. And we have really good data from people like Sensor Tower that are saying, hey, people are converting, sometimes 2x what they would if they don't use Alexa. We're seeing that about 60% of people across the board are using Rufus or Alexa. I keep using them interchangeably. But knowing that, I would say there's more appetite to invest in Alexa visibility, into Sparky visibility, because those are big digital channels for people, and it's where conversion is living too. I think until we get to a point where we can prove conversion in the same way on OpenAI and Gemini, it'll be very similar to like Amazon DSP, to where DSP budgets are typically lower than search budgets because until recently, it was really hard to kind of like prove what's happening from an impact standpoint from DSP over to search. And Amazon's gotten better at showing people that with AMC. But I think really long way of answering your question. I think that there is a lot of value to be extracted out of the Alexa experience because it's a lot closer to conversion than some of the other LLMs. And I think with it being more integrated into the search experience now, I would say, if you're a brand that's spending, $10 million a year on advertising in Amazon, which there's a lot of brands that are doing that and scaling up, I would say that, at least take a portion of that as an insurance policy on your search. Because if somebody is discovering you in Rufus now using the blue bubbles, need help deciding, that's intercepting those dollars that you're trying to spend. And, if somebody lands on your PDP and is about to buy and they see, again, one of those blue bubbles right there asking a burning question that they may have that could prevent them from buying your product or help them buy your product, and you aren't answering that the right way, again, you got to kind of almost view this as an insurance policy for a lot of the work that you're doing on the search side. So
that's a very good way of putting it, insurance policy.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Christian, on your website, you mentioned that you help brands increase Rufus mention by 5 times, right? Mm-hmm. So do you have a case study or anything like that to back it up?
Yeah, we have a lot of different big brands that we're working with right now, especially being kind of like an earlier stage company compared to, some of the PPC companies that have been around forever. We're working with L'Oreal, Mars, different teams from those companies. David Protein was one that had like a huge jump in BSR from like 400 to 15, just in terms of what they did. I think pretty consistently what we're seeing is that jump in visibility. I think on Amazon, for a lot of these, like you're seeing like, 60, 70%, jumps in visibility consistently, in terms of the 3x number. I think that's probably a little bit easier to do, like on the ChatGPT side, especially with challenger brands that are less known. To get them to 3x visibility is a lot easier to do than maybe an established brand that's already pretty visible. So it's more with some of the established brands, I think. How do we map out, conversion and revenue outcomes with them? I think that for really big brands, like, visibility is great, but what's that doing to their revenue? Like, how does that translate into revenue? Our team has done a really good job of collaborating with some of those bigger brands to prove out, hey, if your visibility increases, what does that mean from a revenue standpoint? And we've had some things even in the last quarter that we haven't published yet that I'm really excited about, because to me, coming from like the ad space to like with PackView, that's always the question, is just how is this driving, dollars? And with advertising, Amazon, even if you don't use a PackView or whatever, in the ads console, you can get a really neat picture of here's our impressions, here's our clicks, here's, our conversion rate, here's the amount of sales that this is driven. You get a pretty good picture of that. With AI, you have to do a little bit of piecing that together still, but our team luckily is really smart to be able to help brands do that and say, hey, on an ASIN by ASIN basis, where have we seen some jumps since we've started working together? And I think it's been really significant with some of them.
Yeah, I will say I will agree with you. Your team is like most of them are A players.
Yeah.
So like Top Guns, and some of them are ex-Amazonians as well. So
yeah, Max.
Hats off.
Max knows what he's doing for sure.
Yeah. And we mentioned about Rufus, right? Recommended by Rufus. What about other external like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, recommended by those from those platforms? So how can we optimize your product for those platforms?
Yeah, I kind of said this earlier. I think that the ChatGPTs and Geminis of the world, it's a little bit more of a moving target than Amazon. Amazon, we can kind of drill into that, I think, pretty easily. We can. Not a lot of people aren't able to track that in the same way that we do. I won't give away our secret sauce on that, but I think on ChatGPT, it is a little bit more open range just in terms of where that could be pulling from. Because like we said earlier, Amazon is largely pulling from either your product page on Amazon or what you've purchased on Amazon. Walmart, largely same way. But when you go to the ChatGPTs of the world, it could be pulling from anywhere, basically anywhere but Amazon, because Amazon's walled it off. So it's like really like it's probably going to be a lot of times like if it's very broad category based, where do people get their information about that? Whether it's Reddit or if it's like a supplement thing, again, like a men's health publication, some sort of popular blog, like it could pull it from literally anywhere. So part of the thing with us is we've got to identify where those sources are in your category that are being drawn from the most and either get you some action on some of those publications from a PR standpoint, or like if it's Reddit, like how do we create like a really solid like Reddit strategy to help you surface there too. There's all sorts of different ways that it could play out. Obviously like the main one being if your brand site is, positioned in a way, because a lot of people maybe just have a brand site that they haven't touched in a few years. If it's not positioned in the way that AI is looking for it and somebody else's is, it may grab that to recommend. So that's the first piece, is just like get your own house in order from the brand side. And we can kind of help do that pretty easily with people, which is great.
Great. Christian, you mentioned about Reddit. I saw it somewhere as well. That's kind of the largest pool for the AIs to get the data.
Yeah.
The thing is that how can brands utilize that information?
Yeah, I think that it's knowledge in a lot of ways, right? It's like it's very similar to like if you want to convert it to kind of like an Amazon thought process, it's very similar to your reviews on Amazon. Like how do you address your reviews on Amazon? Like it can kind of give you an idea of like what the customer sentiment is out there. There's a lot of things that brands can do with that information, whether they want to, do some things to try to action that like physically on Reddit, which by the way, you can advertise on Reddit now. That's a really big untapped like advertising area. Like I think advertising on Reddit is something that every brand that has budget should be doing. So like that's an area that they could very easily start to do some things there. I don't know. Reddit is kind of like, I don't like go on there a ton, but I feel like I accidentally end up there when I'm kind of like searching for stuff towards like, oh yeah, I wonder what people actually say about this. And so I think that's why ChatGPT pulls from it so much, is because it's like what people are actually saying about stuff. And obviously now, like with some of this, there's some gaming within Reddit as well.
Yeah.
But, that's
a lot.
Welcome to the internet. So,
yeah. And I read about, compared to advertising, Reddit give better ROAS compared to Amazon.
Yeah, you'd have to ask like my friends at PackView about that. They're doing a lot of really, I think they have a Reddit integration now, and
fantastic.
Be really interesting. I know my buddy Kyle over there is a big big Reddit fan of what they're doing there. So if you want to know about Reddit advertising, go bother Kyle Costa. He'll talk to you.
Great. And Christian, you mentioned about top question for your category are becoming top of search disruptor, right? So how does brand actually find out, what the top question is, for example? So for example, Helium 10, you normally go search, find the keyword, but how do you find the questions, right?
What are the surging keywords? Yeah, all of that. Yeah, there's two ways really. One is you can just go look at all your products and try to do that in the middle of the day and just search all of your different products and spot check it and try to, throw that into like Claude or something and see if it can find some trends for you, which that doesn't sound like a good use of anybody's time. It sounds very time consuming, especially if you have, 3,000 ASINs in your catalog. Or you could use an Azoma that just does that for you at scale. I think that there's a couple of different thoughts that I have on this though, because a lot of people are like, well, like maybe I can just, reverse engineer some things that I've seen in Rufus and say, okay, let's just like try to do like 10 to 20 of these and just pick a subset. I would say people that are doing that haven't been on Amazon in the last month because every time I search for something like with these need help deciding bubbles, it's a new one every single time. So how in the world, if you're only picking like 10 to 20 and it's like, okay, I'm just going to look at these, how in the world do you know what is actually like the most popular thing? Or if you're doing it ASIN by ASIN, there's just what I'm trying to say is there's way too many different variations of these questions that Alexa is asking. So you kind of have to view it from a category level to get the whole view of what is happening. It's like in your category, what are people asking about? Within that category, there's different subtopics that people are asking about. So for instance, like if it's like skin cream, there could be like different topics within, cream, whether it's fragrance or sensitivity. What are the top questions in those subtopics even? With how many places that these things are popping up and the different ways that they're popping up, like across the journey, there's going to be different questions across the journey that people are asking as well. So you have to do that at the category level as opposed to just guessing, or else, you may not know what is actually, the top ones that are surfacing, So.
Yeah, great. And a lot of sellers, big brands, they are still not touching the AI, the Rufus, or not optimizing their listing or any kind of on the ad side as well.
Yeah.
For those sellers, what will be your advice?
I would say so it goes back to what I was talking about earlier, like speed versus power. Like it's kind of like a power dynamic. If you play Mario Kart or whatever, like you have your big racers and your small racers, like each one have their advantages. I think that, for bigger brands, like more established ones, I would say I understand that you have the position of power to be able to sit back and kind of like see how all this plays out. That's great. But you also have the budget compared to some of these smaller brands to test and learn in a way that they don't. So being able to do that at scale, get some good data to learn from, and to like further solidify your place, like that's your opportunity as a big brand. Use the fact that you're a big brand and have the budget for this kind of like throw your budget around, be able to like test and learn versus on the flip side of that, what I would say to kind of like more emerging brands is a lot of these big brands are slow with how they want to test this. It's like, oh, well, let's just only test a couple of our brands with this. Let's only look at Amazon for a little bit. Like we just want to, it's really hard for big brands to make updates to their content at scale. They have a lot of legal approval that they have to go through. So if you're an emerging brand and you have like, a team of maybe 50 people at your company total, which may be the size of the the whole Amazon team at like a bigger brand. Look, like, you have the opportunity to go fast and to really like take some ground on the established guys, in this window while they're trying to test and learn. You can go all in and be the ones that, actually take hold of this AI journey. So I think there's different strategies for both. I mean, I get from a big brand standpoint, like it's going to be hard to make changes at scale. So I'm not knocking them for starting small. I just think it oddly is one of those things where with the bigger the brand, the smaller you almost have to start in some ways, versus like if you're a smaller brand, go all in and go fast, because you may only have like a 6-month window where you can kind of sneak by the bigger guys before they kind of catch up to it. So
yeah, that's true. That's a very nice angle. And Christian, my last question will be, you have used a lot of softwares within Amazon ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
In terms of advertising, SEO, AI. So what's your, let's start with advertising. What will be your number one?
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to put you in a tricky situation now.
You're really putting me on the spot here. So I would say for advertising, I still would go with, like, even though I'm not there anymore, like PackView's going to always be number one for me. And the reason for that is I actually think if anybody listens to this on this front, like, hear this, I think a lot of these technologies, especially on the ad tech side, are largely the same. Like, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I think a lot of them are the same. Like, they all do very similar stuff, and you may like one thing and another one, but the reason why I would still say PackView is like the people over there are great. So like when the technology is all kind of equal at the end of the day, like, go with the people. And I think that like Melissa, who started PackView, is literally the smartest person like in e-commerce. Like, I think she's incredible. Some of the people over at PackView, I think the way that they think about the industry, the way that they're deliberate with what they are trying to build, I could name drop all kinds of people over there that are really smart, like Luke Balestri, Kyle Fisher, Kyle Costa, like all these people on that team across the board that are just like really, really great people. Whether you're like dealing with a salesperson there, like Kyle, an account manager, like Rachel, I think it's just people over there are awesome. So I would say, like, tech aside, PackView for sure.
Great. What about the SEO side?
So the SEO side, I'm a little less familiar with SEO tools, I'll be honest. So I'll punt on that one. I don't have a strong opinion on any of them.
Okay. My last one, ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude?
Just in terms of like
Amazon ecosystem, anything to do with optimizing Amazon?
So optimizing Amazon, like, you mean using like MCP for that?
Yeah, MCP, yeah. Like connecting to ads and
100% Claude. I'm going to be super interested. PackView just released their MCP thing the other day. I know Sky's doing that. Like, everybody's doing that now. It's like,
I saw that as well. Yeah.
Like, we have MCP. I'll be interested. Like, I've talked to a few brands, like even last week here at DSS, I talked to some people that are starting to play with that. I'll be interested how people are doing it. Like, is it going to be more for like just quick reporting visualization? Is it more like, are they going to try to like automate with it? Like, I don't know. I'll be really interested. But Claude, like, for sure is I use Claude for so much in my life. I think it's just a better, like, for work. Like, if anything that I'm doing from a workflow standpoint, Claude just makes that better. So I would for sure use Claude over anything else if I was doing the MCP thing.
Yeah, it means me too. I love Claude. I always hit the limit. Now I finished the limit. I have to wait for a few hours.
I know.
Frustrating.
I know. They do have this option where, like, it's so genius. It's like you can kind of throw $5 more at it, without updating the plan. It's like, oh, you're out. It's like, oh, well, let me see if I can like finish this one project if I just pay $5 with it. So I finally did upgrade to like the max plan or whatever, and I haven't run out of most of what I need to do, but I'm also not running ads in it. So
yeah,
I'm just like, doing random things in it versus, people that are running their advertising in it. I don't know what you need to do with what plan you need. So, at the end of the day, maybe you just go back to using PackView.
Yeah, it's all built in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Christian, it's nice to chat with you. A lot of nice insights and a lot of nice tips that you have shared. For the viewers who are watching, where they can find you, and if you can give us some details about the company as well.
Yeah, so you can find me in Atlanta, Georgia, if you ever want to get coffee or something. But I'm on LinkedIn a lot, for better or worse. But yeah, Azoma is going to be out and about. We have an event in New York here in just a few weeks. We'll be in the city doing an agentic Commerce Decoded did one of those in London earlier this year. I think there was like over 100 people at it. It's free. So we'll be doing that here in a few weeks in New York. So if you're a brand that's in New York, wants to learn more about what's happening in the agentic space, that'll be a great day to come and learn and collaborate with other brands on that. I think what I would say with, the brands that are looking to get started with AI, like there are so many things being thrown at you and I empathize with it. Like I go to these shows and everything is agentic. Everybody says that they do agentic. Everybody has an opinion about it. I would say like I kind of knocked starting small earlier on this podcast. Like it's okay to start small. It's okay to test and learn. I think especially for some of those big brands that are really hesitant to like mess up their brand image with AI, you have like ways to do that in a way that's gonna, really set you up the right way. I think, we help do that certainly at Azoma. So I hope people, would want to talk to us, but also talk to other people too, get a full POV on things. I think everybody's learning together. Hopefully we can learn from each other too.
Yeah, of course, yes. So what I will do, put the link, LinkedIn profile link, the website link, and also the third one is the event link as well. So I will put all the links there. I hope I can post this before the event, but the link will be there. Everything will be there. Please do check it out. And thanks a lot, Christian.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, anybody feel free to hit me up. For better or worse, I will. I'll chat with anybody. So if you ever want to just hang out like we've been doing today, Sebastian, I'm always happy to do like a virtual coffee with anybody and just chat through what we're seeing. I won't try to like make you sign your life away if we do it.
Yeah.
It's fine. So we'll be cool about it. So yeah.
Great. Fantastic. All right. Thanks a lot, Christian.
Thanks, Sebastian. Hope you have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye.